Good evening, Juho Kuosmanen. Welcome to Ljubljana, to Kinodvor Cinema. Mogoče, če ga pozdravimo, pa en aplavz.
Thank you.
Hope you're fine.
I'm fine, yes.
It was wonderful to watch your film, also in a cinema, so thank you.
Thank you for showing it.
And for this trip to the north and to this trip to the 90s and all of the, it was very nice. Perhaps a first question to start at the beginning. It says in the titles that the film is inspired by a novel, by a book. Could you tell us a little bit more about this? But could you tell us what was the thing that pushed you the most in the book to make the film, as film consists of many, I would say, like cinematic pleasures, like traveling with train and going to the north and winter and these characters also.
Yes, it's inspired by a book of Rosa Liksom that was published 10 years ago. Or 11 years ago already, and I read it already then, so it's been a long process. I think that what the elements from the novel that got me interested of this idea of doing a film adaptation was the overall atmosphere of the novel. It feels very cinematic. The train feels like a cinematic setting, and also this this encounter, these strangers in a train, felt like kind of a simple plot, but at the same time something that where you can go actually into pretty deep levels. Even though it's really, the events are very simple. It's just one encounter, but at the same time, it's this human connection and this whole idea of identity and all these questions were there. But in the novel, they actually don't go to north, they go to Mongolia, to Ulaanbaatar, and the novel takes place in 80s in Soviet Union. The guy is much older, the female character is younger, and then there are lots of different characters and many time layers. So actually what we see here is just, it's a story inspired by the novel. It's just part of the novel, and also many parts is changed. The decade is different, country is different in a way.
But you do stay in the past, let's say, but you moved the film to the 90s. 80s would mean another trip to the past. It's interesting how 90s now already resonate as quite long ago. And there, I would say, quite some, although not in the first note, but nostalgic moments or actions or also atmospheres with Walkman and high-8 camera and I don't know, smoking and so on. How come that you chose the 90s? Also, the communication was different at that time. Yeah.
Yes, this change was actually pretty late change. So we had a script that was taking place in the 80s when we started to find the locations for this film. And then we felt that we found great locations, but we felt that if we have to turn these locations to look like 80s, there's nothing really that we can use. But if we would set this film in the 90s, like most of the places that we found, they were actually like pretty much the same. I mean, the cars were different and all that, but the buildings and most of the things were, more like remote places in Russia. They looked still like somewhere from 90s. And then I felt that actually this changing the decade is actually just good, because the Soviet Union doesn't really exist in this story that we are telling anymore. It's a big part of the novel, but in our script, it was already so much focused on these two characters that actually the idea to set it in Soviet Union was just distracting the core of this encounter, and this very kind of fragile humane connection that there is, and but we wanted to keep it in the past because we felt that this. Well, there's one concrete thing. The smartphones was one concrete thing, because nowadays when you take a train to somewhere, when you are traveling, you are always connected with your social environment if you want to. So these kind of encounters are not that common anymore. We are not dependent on strangers anymore as we were 20 years ago. But we also, like emotional level, we also wanted to make a film that feels like a memory from the past. Not just because it's there is this nostalgia in it, but I felt that the overall feeling of this film, I wanted it to feel like if somebody's going through their old diaries and then remembering and there was this moment and there was that moment, and to take a certain distance to the events.
To stay just a little bit still at the setting, because it seems that you bring very much to life this Russia from the 90s, the people that are not very pleasant, and the way of traveling with trains that everybody's eating their klobasa, how do you say, sausages and so and so. Do you know Russia? Have you known Russia?
I know a bit. I'm not at all like expert, but I've been traveling there, and obviously I was also working with the Russian crew. So when we were scouting the places, I was studying and listening. My ears were open, and also the last script that we did, when we translated it, the dialogue into Russian, I was working with the Russian scriptwriter. So she also brought some ideas into the film. Her idea was in the beginning was that they are talking about the novels of Pelevin. Mm-hmm. And then I also wanted to when we did the film, even though it's set in the past, I tried to keep this documentary elements there as much as we can, because I think that kind of authenticity brings the whole film alive. For example, this babushka, the old woman that they are visiting, it's someone that we found from that near Petrozavodsk, and it's her house, it's her cat, and we didn't want to change anything. It's still there. It feels like somewhere from the past, but it's still there. And the trains are. It's nowadays more common that they are more modern, but these trains are still there, and so it wasn't that hard to think that time. Even I think my first visit in Russia was like around millennium, maybe a bit later than the time where this film happens.
Perhaps we have a question or some thought from the audience. I'm mogoče kakšno vprašanje. So I will continue. As you are talking about documentary, that you wanted to implement the documentary way of seeing things on film, it's very obvious, but not, obvious, it's visible. Could you tell us a little bit about shooting? Because it seems that the scenes on the train were really shot on the train, on a moving train, most of them at least. And also if you could tell us if you had some thoughts or concepts about how to shoot on the train. It's obvious that you have to be very close on the train, there is not much space. But then you go outside and you do not actually take a very open shot. Still the shots are a little bit cramped, let's say.
Yes, well, all the day scenes that in the train, they are shot in a moving train. We were working with this great production services, Globus Film, and they could hire a train from Russian railroads, and they also made our own schedule, so we were driving with our own train, I think around 10 hours in a day. We left from St. Petersburg, and then we came back to St. Petersburg in the evening. And some days we were more in the countryside, some days we were more closer to the city, depending on the scenes that we were shooting. And with the DOP, J.P. Passi, and also the production designer, Kari Kankaanpää, we decided that we are not going to make the train compartment any bigger than it actually is. Because it's the feeling to be in the train was like we wanted to keep that as authentic as we could. And when we checked like different train films and these different techniques, the way they were shot, it always destroys the illusion when you can see that the camera is not actually in the same place with them. You might get like better lighting, or you might get a better framing, but it at the same time it destroys the illusion that actually we are in the train. And maybe closest to from our references to shot this film was the German film Das Boot, because they are also in these very narrow places, very close with the actors, and it's really part of the overall feeling of that film as well, the claustrophobic feeling. And we wanted to have it so that's why we decided to work like this. I think I actually don't like to work in a studio in a controlled environment, because I think the amount of focus you have to build to use on these kind of technical things, it's just so boring, and then there's not enough time to focus on the actors anymore. But now we were like, okay, we are in the train, so we don't have to think, does it feel like we are really in the train, because we are. And then we can focus on the on the gaze of the actors, the way they look at these kind of small nuances. And this film really happens between these two characters in the I think the biggest thing that happens in this film is the way they see each other. That changes, and that's like that's a really small thing. That's not the epic stories. If to see that, you need to be really close to the characters, and to see these different nuances around their eyes. And but we also wanted to have this narrow journey in the beginning, that when they are in Murmansk, when they are there going to the petroglyphs, they have this air around. That's where we have our only like wider shots, and it's also like it's kind of a spirit, like mental space as well, because in the beginning they are hiding so much of themselves. They are like, even she is with these nice people in this fancy apartment. She's so ashamed of herself that she's hiding. She's living in this like really, really small box. And I think Jura's character, Ljoha, is living the same. He has adapted this very narrow, stereotypical role that he is portraying in his life. So this kind of a claustrophobic feeling is also I felt supporting the feeling, the way they feel, what's their like mental space. It's like really, really narrow. But when the person starts to see you in a wider picture, you start to free yourself as well. When somebody is accepting you more and more parts of you.
But this is also the beautiful paradox of this film, that you go on a trip, or you have a road movie, let's say, or traveling, but everything is very narrow, very close, very unpleasant at first, very determined. You have to sit with him, you have to communicate with these people, and so on.
This is also, it's kind of my feeling of traveling. It's this illusion of freedom is not. It's not like it looks in like commercials or in Instagram. It's never like that. It's I think it's just this image of freedom is. You go to a journey to reach this feeling, but it's actually it's a mental thing. It's not easy to be free. It's not easy to feel free, especially when you are somewhere a bit lost and afraid and whatever, meeting new people, trying to look nice. I think these elements are like really against our freedom.
Perhaps there is a question from the audience. Mogoče kakšno vprašanje? Prosim, bomo mikrofon prinesli, da.
It's really beautiful theater that, like, I can all see the red walls and it looks nice.
I wanted to know if at the end, I didn't understand, maybe it was unclear. I mean, you meant it clear, but I wanted to know if at the end she sees the petroglyphi or not.
Yes, she sees them.
We don't see them.
We don't see them, no. We decided to do, we were like, to be honest, I still don't know if it was the right decision, but when we did the decision, we were like really sure that this is exactly the way it should be shot, that we are just watching her more from Lyoha's point of view when she is walking around on those stones and she is touching them, but we are not with her there. Because this moment for her is like really anticlimactic moment. Because it was never really her idea to see these petroglyphs. Her idea, her motive to go to this trip was to go to that place and to be watched by Irina. Like she wanted to be this person in Irina's eyes who is like really touched by these petroglyphs. But now that Irina is not there, it's like she doesn't feel anything when she's touching them. And we felt that if we are showing this moment of touching, it's really hard to control the feeling that the audience might get, because it might feel like it should be climatic moment, but it's really an anticlimactic moment. And then we decided to do okay, we are not even show these petroglyphs, that not to disappoint the audience. I'm sorry if you felt disappointed, but to not force, but ask the audience to think like something else in that moment, because the petroglyphs were not like in the end they wouldn't be any answer for anything. It was just a fake dream from the beginning. She's just like posing for Irina, that she is also really interested in me, even though she's not. And then we felt like, okay, we are, instead of seeing these dead stones with nice petroglyphs, but anyway, they are dead. Instead, we should look at these two living creatures that are still there. And yeah, that's bad answer, but this was something that we were we were thinking when we decided to do it this way.
Maybe mogoče še kakšno vprašanje? Ja, prosti, je tam še en gospod.
Sorry, I think I liked the ending. What you did, it doesn't really matter if they saw it or not. Maybe now you saying that, I think for me it made this movie a bit different. But I was thinking also, was it maybe I was going a bit further away from the story when I was also playing with the idea that Irina might have deliberately not decided not to go with her girlfriend. Was that also something in the book, or was that something that was also thought of, or maybe considered?
Actually, in the book, what she is escaping from Moscow, it's more like a love triangle. It was much more messier. her life was even messy, like much more messier in the novel, because she had a friend called Mitka, and there was a different time layers in the novel, but one of these layers is when she went on this trip, it was during the war in Afghanistan, and then Mitka decided to go to a mental hospital to avoid the army, to avoid the war. And then this character stayed in the apartment with Mitka's mother, and they became lovers at the same time when the son was in mental hospital. And this really messy love triangle was something that she couldn't handle, and then she went on this train journey. And in our story, it was more like it was a fainting love story. So yes, I think Irina was not that eager to go with her anymore. It was, the love was already fainting, and but for me, it was more like her idea, her identity that I was going through. Like this affair with Irina was more portraying this idea of, it was not just a love story, but it was actually her attempt to be like Irina. Like she didn't want to be just the lover of Irina, but she wanted to be like her. She wanted to be a Moscovian intellectual living in that house, having all these intellectual friends. But she's not, she's from Finland, she's not that intellectual, she's not that much. And this idea of like, I'm not enough, is what she is escaping. And then in the end, she realized that she is enough. That's the story in its most simple form.
We have another question.
Hi, I have a question about the actors. How did you choose the two main actors, and if you worked with them before? And then another question, why it was necessary for you that the Finnish guy steals her camera?
Actually, the Finnish guy is the only one that I've worked before. He's my friend, and he also plays in the same band with me. So we are friends from the
90s.
We were started. What?
From the
No,
90s.
not from 90s. But from like 15 years ago. We studied together. He was studying acting. I was studying in film school, and but Sadie, the Finnish actress, was totally new for me. I only saw her in one scene in a TV series that my friend did. And my friend suggested that I should meet her when I was trying to find the character for this film. And I think her like a kind of very strong physical presence, but at the same time very fragile mind was this interesting combination. And then first of all, and then I met her, and she has an amazing humor, and she gave a lot to the script and this character. We worked like more than a year before the shootings. So she came on board like before the script was ready, or the character wasn't even ready. And then Jura Borisov came on board half year before the shootings. I saw him in a film in Karlovy Vary Festival, and then I wanted to have him in the auditioning, and it was very strong intuition, but at the same time I couldn't verbalize this feeling because the casting director from Russia said that this guy is like totally different than all the guys that we've been searching for so far. Because actually we were searching for a much older guy also. And then, but yeah, I just wanted to meet him and test him with Sadie. And immediately when I saw them together, I think it was common feeling with Sadie and me that this is the guy. They had the perfect chemistry, even though they never met before, and they felt like there was something very, very similar between them. Actually, before I met Jura, I always pitched this film that it's a story of two totally different kind of characters that are trapped in this small space, and they have to share it. And in the end, they see something similar in the other. But when I saw Jura, I realized that actually this is not that story. This story is about two exactly similar kind of characters. They are almost like twins, but they didn't know that the other one exists, and they are both very lonely. They feel that they are alone in this world. There's nobody else like them, and then suddenly they see something similar. The first impression is not that nice, but it's then the connection is slowly building, and these more parts become visible. And even though they are not sharing their childhood or anything like this, but I think they can feel that the other one feels the same. And that's why we also wanted this Finnish guy to come and steal the camera to do this big, very unfair thing. Because this being disappointed, having this feeling that life is unfair, and people are cruel, this is what connects them. I think in the moment when Jura says, Ljoha, the Russian guy, says to her that, I don't know how it's translated, but the idea is like everybody should be killed. And I think what he is really saying there is that I know how you feel. That's why he can say this like very banal sentence, and she's laughing, and this I think that moment is really like a key moment for their connection. To see that the other one is also really hurt. So that's the moment when actually Ljoha is leaning towards her more and starting to ask, "Tell me about the Moscow. Tell me about yourself."
How do you then work with the actors? Do you prepare before the shooting concrete scenes, or do you talk more about the characters, how they would live?
We read the script and then we talk a lot. And my main concern is always like, do they connect? Because with my previous film was easier because I knew most of the actors, the main couple. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's called The Happiest Day in the Life of Olli Mäki, and that main couple was like my really long time friends. I've known them for like basically forever. But this case, after the auditioning the first time Jura came to Finland to read the script, we read the script, we went to have a dinner, and then actually thinking like, okay, what should we do? And there's this really nice sauna in Helsinki, which is open for everybody. It's free all the time, and it's like you can just go there, and it's usually there's somebody, so it's usually always warm, 24 hours in a day. We started to talk about it, and they were like, yeah, let's go. So we end up in the first evening, we were already in the sauna, naked and jumping to the sea. And then it felt like, okay, there won't be any problems to work with these people. We're like, there's nothing to shame anymore. We've seen enough. And but yeah, well, then we had few of these meetings when we were just reading the scripts, and then after that I rewrote the script. And then when we were doing the actual film, I think there's not that really, I don't really want to direct really much. I direct when I see that something's not going well, but as long as it goes, I think it's just better to not to disturb, not to give it too many directions. And with them, it was most like that. It was it was great to work with them.
Perhaps another question. Še kakšno vprašanje, kakšno mogoče? Perhaps I will just end with the question, who is the lady with the gun behind you?
She's Do you recognize that somebody? It's Gina Rowland
Yeah.
from Gloria.
Yeah, okay.
From
It's super.
Yes.
Is Cassavetes one of the directors you like watching his films?
Yes, he is, and also Gina Rowland, especially this. Even though I don't think the Gloria is the best film of Cassavetes, but this Gloria, this figure is just so amazing that the ending of the film is bad. It's worse than in our film, but but yeah, her character is amazing.
Okay, so we would really like to thank you for this talk and for your film. And I will say to people to tell their friends to come and see the film. And
Yes, please.
waiting for
There is
your
no-
next film then.
Yes, yeah. I think you have to wait for a while. But thank you for showing, and thank you for joining the screening. There is no film without the audience. So thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
and-